I want you to think of your favourite ride at Alton Towers. Is it the Beast, Nemesis Reborn, the spaghetti-looking roller coaster of the Smiler, or even this launching beauty, or any of the other ones? Have you got that ride in mind? Good, because today you might find out that your favourite ride, the one you love so much, might not be around and open for much longer, because today I am going to go through every single fast-paced, record-breaking or tiny roller coaster at the Alton Towers Resort and work out when they might close and be removed. And some could be coming sooner than you think, so make sure you watch all the way to the end and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy this video as well. It'd be greatly appreciated. So when it comes to these 11 different roller coasters around the park, we're actually going to rank its potential near non-existence using 3 different tiers: completely fine, past its prime, and on borrowed time. All pretty self-explanatory. So this is all speculation, not actually happening. So when I say Rita is going to close tomorrow, sadly it won't. But we've been correct in the past, so who knows, we might be correct again. But it would make sense to start with a ride that is probably not going anywhere, in the form of Bluey the Ride, Here Come the Grannies. It has to stay, because it's got the world's longest name of a ride, and it's the world's first Bluey roller coaster that opened this year. In 2026. So if I was funny, then I would say, no, it's going to close next year, won't it, guys? Because that would be a good joke. So I think it's going to close next year. This is a brand new Sierra Force model roller coaster, and considering it is literally brand new, we know it's not going to shut anytime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if the theme changes in around 10 to 15 years, depending on how the Bluey series ends up in those years. But with it having that very simple kids coaster layout and being a drive tire lift and just a very simple ride, Bluey the Ride, Here Come the Grannies is here to stay for a long time. So we'll put that in the tier of completely fine. But if we had to find a time frame in which it would close, when would that be? Well, Sierra have been in the game for a very long time, and the coasters that they make last ages, even the ones that look like they could fall apart. So they could definitely keep this ride for, I'd say, over 30 to 40 years, meaning Bluey the Ride could potentially be running up to 2070, which is absolutely ridiculous. But whilst we're in CBeebies land, we might as well talk about Octonauts Roller Coaster Adventure, a Zamperla Junior coaster that opened back in 2015. God, I can't believe that's 11 years old. That is ridiculous. This time an even smaller kids roller coaster, themed to the popular TV show called Octonauts. I think this will be the same as Bluey, where it'll probably get rethemed before it dies, or unless they completely decide to renovate CBeebies land as a whole and take the whole thing down with a bulldozer. Once again, I do think Octonauts has a good amount of time left, meaning I'd also put that in the completely fine tier. And as for when it would close, you're probably looking at about 2050, 2060 again, because this one's 11 years old rather than just opening, so you just take the 10 years off and that, yeah, you get what I mean. So Octonauts and Bluey are completely fine, but if we walk out of CBeebies land and turn right, we will be at Spinball Whizzer, which opened in 2004. A great year to be born, or to be created. I only meant that because I was born in the same year, which means we are of similar age, with Spinball Whizzer having reached 22 years of age this year. And this ride has had its fair share of problems over the past few years, to the point where they had to completely replace some of the systems on the ride to do with operating it, and obviously the ride has been running fine since. But I can't lie, I do think Spinball Whizzer is on borrowed time, as the capacity on it's not very good. It's been around for quite some time, although it's 22. Being 22 is not a bad thing. Hopefully I'm not on borrowed time when I turn 22. But as popular as it might seem, that area is definitely a prime location for either more of CBeebies land or something brand new in its space, which if we then try and work out a year that it would close, I would genuinely say within the next 10 years. So I'll go in the middle and say around 2031, we might see the closure of Spinball Whizzer, maybe to make way for Spinball Whizzer Reborn. But it's quite a major family coaster, so expect a family coaster to probably replace it if it does get removed, and I think a lot of people do kind of want to see that as well. Walking on down past Spinball Whizzer, which has now been bulldozed and destroyed, to X Sector, where we have 2 major roller coasters. First of which is the Smiler, the world's first and only 14 looping roller coaster, and this thing is insane. as I imagine all of you agree because most of you have probably been on it. But the ride opened back in 2013, so is now 13 years old, and there are parts of the ride that are deemed quite rough, but this year I actually don't think it was that bad, and that has also had its fair share of issues over the years as well. But I don't think that it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, so I'm actually going to put the Smiler in past its prime, because I do think when it first opened all the way up until maybe like a couple years ago, it looked and ran really well, but now it just looks a bit tired. And I think a lot of people are expecting it to go at some point in the future, as with any of these coasters. But with it being past its prime, I do think it's still got a little bit of life left in it, but not too long. So I would actually say the Smiler might close in around maybe 15 years. So if we put around 2040 on that, I think that's when the Smiler could go. If it continues to deteriorate over the next 14 years, which is funny because that means it's got a year left for every inversion it has, then 2040 is the year where I do think that might be demolished. Or before then again, they might retrack it. You just don't know with Alton Towers, because that is a common speculation for their B&M dive coaster known as Oblivion, in the same area of X Sector, and this has been around since 1998, and literally goes up a lift hill, round the corner, down a huge drop into the ground, comes back up through a turn, and into the station again. Because it was a record-breaking prototype, which is a very common theme with rides at Alton Towers. And this is a really tricky one because, of course, it's almost 30 years old. Literally earlier this year, it had a problem where supposedly something was wrong with the track in the tunnel, and then they've gone and added more effects to it and fixed certain things on it. So I'm gonna just about put this in borrowed time, but I think it's in the later stages of that borrowed time, because once again Oblivion is a fan favourite, much like Nemesis was, and look what they did to Nemesis when that got to the end of its life. So they could go and retrack it, but I think depending on whether or not they do that, Oblivion will close in the next 5 to 10 years, similar to Spinball Wizard. So we're going to say 2031 for that one as well. Hopefully they both don't close in the same year, because that would be catastrophic. As we then go out of X Sector and past the towers towards Dark Forest, or the Intamin Forest as you could call it, where first up we have 13, which of course is an Intamin multi-dimension coaster, opened in 2010. Even that is 16 years old, oh my god. But honestly, the life of 13 has been quite flawless, to be fair. Not that the ride is a flawless coaster, hey. But having had it at the park for 16 years, if you rode it and didn't know when it was made, with how smooth that ride is and how it operates and how it runs day to day, you would think that that ride only opened in the recent years. So for that reason, I am actually going to say this is completely fine, and that 13 has so many more years left, because as much as this is a prototype as well, they've continued to make multi-dimension coasters and they've just upgraded them over time. So they could even go back to 13 and upgrade stuff to make it even more reliable. And I think 13 is a great family coaster, and it's a really nice ride that I could see lasting for another 30 years. So we'll say around 2055 for when 13 might close, unless the Dark Forest takes it over beforehand. As the Dark Forest took over Rita, the Intamin launch coaster that opened in 2005. And I'm going to say it straight away, and you're going to think, oh, you just hate Rita, this is why you're saying it. No. I'm saying this for legitimate reasons. This ride is 100% on borrowed time, which, God forbid I'm saying this, is a shame, because obviously an Intamin accelerator model, very rare nowadays, and that launch is very punchy, and the sort of ride itself is quite an intense layout, I guess. And with those rides being a rarity, of course Intamin don't manufacture anything for that anymore, so to see more and more disappearing throughout the world over time, and more of the year is Rita closed for maintenance, and more money Alton Towers are spending to keep it up and running, I do think Rita is on the chopping block in potentially the next 5 years. So for that reason, and no personal hatred whatsoever, I'd actually give that till about 2029 to close, but it could be even earlier, which hopefully it's not, although if it was I wouldn't have to ride it all day, although that's happening this year. So Towers, get on that please. That was a very easy decision, as is walking down to Mutiny Bay to talk about Wickerman, another very easy decision coming up. This thing has the potential to last even longer than any other coaster, because wooden roller coasters in this country just seem to last millenniums. But it's a wooden roller coaster, a GCI that opened in 2018, and it's not even 10 years old yet. So for those reasons, Wickerman is completely fine. They've been retracking it where they needed to, they've been keeping up on it like you would with a wooden roller coaster, and they've been taking real good care of it. It's not rough or anything, so yeah, this thing's got like 50 to 60 years in it, if not even longer, and I love Wickerman so much, so I'm actually going to say 2075. This thing could run to, although potentially by then it might have been retracked fully, RMC'd, a steel hybrid, or even as rough as the Grand National at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But Wickerman is one of their newest roller coasters as we walk through Katanga Canyon to get to one of their the oldest coaster at the park, Runaway Mine Train. Yes, this steel sit-down family coaster, a Mack Rides powered mine train. Yes, this thing is so much fun, but it has been around for quite some time now, and having just reached its 34th season, the start of the year, it just wasn't running at all. And that seems quite old, but literally a ride of the same type that's very famous over at Thorpe Park. That fish has been flying 10 years beforehand and ever since. So that probably shows you that Runaway Mine Train does have another 10 years in it, but it's how much longer after that, which is why I would say right now it's past its prime, because we had that start of the season this year where it wasn't open. We might see more like that in the future, and as much as it is a fun family coaster, that area could be used for another more high-tech, more modern new roller coaster that's family orientated later down the line. So I'm actually going to say this one has about 20 years left, so we'll say around 2045 for that one. And then we won't be able to catch the Runaway Mine Train because it's run away and been demolished. But tell you what coaster was recently demolished and then completely rebuilt from the ground up. The penultimate coaster we need to talk about in this video, Nemesis Reborn. Now, of course, we're going to say this right now. It's completely fine. It literally got retracked in 2024, so it's only been open 2 years. And it's going to have the potential same life as Nemesis did, which was 30 years. All you've got to remember is with this retrack, they replaced loads of the supports, which was one of the issues why they retracked it in the first place, because those supports just weren't holding up with the intensity of the ride. And those supports have now, with Reborn, been made thicker, so they can withstand a lot more. So with that being said, Nemesis Reborn could literally last up until past 2080. But I mean, don't put it past them, because they were tempted to remove it when it came to retracking it beforehand. They were like, oh, we might just get rid of it. So they could do the same in about 30 years again, and we get Nemesis Reborn. But as long as they sort that bloody rattle out, I do think that's got a lot of life left in it, and 2080 is a very long time away. But Nemesis Reborn could be running strong even to that point, as I don't think will be the case with our last ride on this list. Also in Forbidden Valley, Galactica, the B&M flying roller coaster that opened back in 2002 as Air. Genuinely one of my favorite rides when I first went on it as a kid. It was one of those that got me into roller coasters, as did when I cried my eyes out on Nemesis. But with it being one of my favorite rides of all time, I'd love to see it live on, but I don't think that would be the case. And I'll say it here and now, I think Galactica is on borrowed time. The reason for that? Well, technology has come a long way with the B&M flying coaster, because once again, this was a prototype in classic Alton Towers fashion. And if you go to the park now, you often see them not running both stations or all the trains, or it's on very low capacity and the operations aren't amazing. And looking at it compared to all the other coasters at the park, it's just not really anything special anymore. And with the new retheme of Forbidden Valley being more military-esque, it doesn't fit into that area at all anymore either. They've left the track to get really grubby, and the station just isn't well themed like all their other rides are. There are so many reasons why I think Galactica might be next on the chopping block, and for that reason I would say it would close in the next 5 to 10 years, as I personally don't think it would get retracked, but there is the chance that it does sort of live on a little bit longer from them actually retheming it eventually into that Forbidden Valley military theme. So for that reason, I'm going to say 2035 for Galactica, which is sooner than you think, and this is all speculation, obviously. But there are quite a few rides at Alton Towers that could definitely be removed in the next 10 years, and we're just going to have to keep an eye out for that. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, because I will keep you up to date on all of the news going forward, with rides potentially closing and everything else in between, along with more videos like this. And as much as today we wondered when the rides at Alton Towers would close, have a look at this video where I wondered how Alton Towers coasters would be if they were a lot taller. Yeah, because they can't build above the trees. If you didn't know that, go and watch this video. This one. Here. Now.